I'm Representative Kristen Robbins. I represent District 37A, which is the western part of Maple Grove and all of Corcoran, Medina, Greenfield, Independence, Loretto, and Maple Plain. And we are here today to talk about HF 14, which is a bill that would put a moratorium on the Blue Line light rail until the Southwest light rail is done. And I have a huge group of friends who I've gotten to know over the last few weeks as this bill went through committee who reached out to me, and they have been working on this issue for a really long time. They represent their communities who are all along the Blue Line corridor. They represent businesses that will be impacted by it, and this is really about them having the opportunity to share their story about why they feel it's important to put a pause on the Blue Line and that we consider bus rapid transit instead. So without further ado, I will turn it over to my guests and then happy to take questions at the end. So.
All right, thank you. Hello, my name is Eric Hillman. I'm a resident of Robbinsdale for 23 years. I fully urge our state representatives to vote yes on HF 14, which will pause construction on the Blue Line extension. I represent Stoplight Rail 81. We are a group that is not opposed to public transit. We are opposed to this light rail project, and we strongly feel a bus rapid transit system would be far better. There are three major issues I'd like to address. One, displacement and closure of local businesses. The reality of that is unreal. The wasteful taxpayer spending and crime. In regards to displacement of closure of local businesses, let's talk about the Green Line. Before 2010, I used to love going to University Avenue in St. Paul. It was a great area. It was rich in diversity. It was rich in diversity, and overall just had a great vibe. Thanks to the Green Line, many of those stores and restaurants have been displaced or they have been closed due to a very long construction time. Now, if you look at these photos, look at these photos. These are multiple stores and restaurants along Highway 81, and they are with us in this fight because they do not want what has happened on University Avenue to happen on 81, on Bottineau Boulevard, because that's what's coming. We don't want that to happen. I've gathered quotes from business owners in Robbinsdale, and I got a quote from the owner of the Wicked Wart, Steve Carlisle. He said, "I agree with this bill because the entire thing is just stupid. It will separate our city. It will create a severe rise in crime. The business owners cannot survive 6 years of construction time." And I talked to the owner of Hackey Millers, which is the oldest store in Robbinsdale. It's been there for 120 years. His name is Gordy Lindenfelser. He says the light rail will absolutely ruin Robbinsdale. There is no logic to this whatsoever. The crime will increase at an alarming rate. It is so bad in St. Paul they have to have police officers on foot near the stations to deal with the uptick in crime. So the city of St. Paul, their officers have to deal with the problem that Metro Transit has created because they don't have officers on their trains. And how does the city of Robbinsdale, a small city of Robbinsdale, how do they deal with this up? We don't have the budget for extra police officers to patrol that area. So I just want to say, like, with the dysfunction of Met Council and how they've been dysfunctional at construction and how they've been dysfunctional at operating, why would anybody give any more money to these light rail projects in the future?
Hello, my name is Christelle Porter. I'm the Executive Director of West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. I'm also a resident in North Minneapolis, raised my children there, and also worked as an educator in North Minneapolis as well. We are in very interesting political times in America, and a lot of people may want to focus on whether a bill making its way through the legislature has a D or an R at the end of it. But to me, this bill it's nonpartisan. You know, this bill focuses on, to me, the safety of the children along West Broadway. When I think of all of the children that live just south or just north of West Broadway, having to cross the park, to the park that they play at, to the youth YMCA that they go to for safety when their parents have to go to work. Are we going to expect these kids to walk 2 blocks to a crosswalk to come back to a spot that's right across the street from their home on a busy street with no shoulders for emergency vehicles to pull over? You know, and and I want to thank our legislature for setting aside $10 million for anti-displacement. However, already $200,000 of that $10 million has been moved to Harrison neighborhood. That is not even on the line. We don't have any safeguards or real promises made about anti-displacement. And for all of those buildings that are highlighted in pink that will be torn down due to eminent domain, that have served our communities for decades despite all of the disinvestment and all of the negative media that has been portrayed on our community. They have stuck by us, served us for many years. Who's going to make sure that those businesses are able to survive? There's no promises in place. There's no promises in place when it comes to safety and those kids that are living directly on the line. When Met Council has a $1.5 billion budget and they are not held accountable to constituents, we do not elect them. I don't trust the fact that we are going to be able to be heard, especially after, with the Southwest Light Rail, you had many residents who are well off that were able to pay engineers to tell them what was going to go wrong, that in fact did happen. How am I to trust that they're going to listen to us in North Minneapolis? So I would say to all of our legislatures, please listen and please support House File 14. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Mark Welna, and our family owns Welna Ace Hardware in downtown Robbinsdale and a store in South Minneapolis for the last 71 years. I'm the third generation. Our fourth generation is running the store now, and we've invested a lot of money in Robbinsdale. We bought another building to open a garden center. We're on very thin margins, and when we go right down 81 with the light rail, a lot of our customers come from the east side of that, and I think that they'll go somewhere else. And I'm just not for this, so I hope that you guys support this bill, and it would just be very tough on our store in downtown Robbinsdale. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dean Rose. I'm a third-generation property and business owner on the corner of Broadway and Penn in North Minneapolis. I've been involved in the planning process to revitalize West Broadway for the past several decades now. I'm here to speak on behalf of House Resolution 14 by Representative Robbins to place a moratorium on light rail spending. There are three main reasons I support this pause in spending. First, the discussions of light rail down West Broadway Avenue date back over 10 years and has been determined back in 2015 by a Hennepin County environmental impact study that West Broadway was not a viable option for light rail transit due to its narrow and curvy configuration. None of the issues raised in that report regarding West Broadway being a non-starter have been corrected or addressed by Hennepin County or the Met Council to date. Second, a 6-year construction timeline will drive most, if not all, businesses, which I am representative of 75 businesses that have signed a petition against light rail down West Broadway to survive that construction timeline. You only need to look at University Avenue to see how that negative impact impacted all of the historical businesses along the avenue. Ridership is down 30%, street traffic is down 50%, and empty storefronts litter University Avenue. In addition, 650 street parking spots would be eliminated along West Broadway that are vital to the needs of serving our small business owners. Finally, the cost of the Blue Line light rail is estimated at $3.2 billion. As we have seen from the Southwest project, the cost to build that line ballooned over time and took twice as long to build as was originally expected. Fortunately, we do have a better option. Bus Rapid Transit has proven itself to be extremely effective in serving the needs of our community and at a fraction of the cost to build. BRT is faster, more efficient than the routes, and the routes will better serve our community than light rail would do. I urge all of you to encourage legislators to support House Resolution 14. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jerome Johnson. I'm a retired transportation economist and engineer. I spent much of my career in the area of buying and selling rail lines and their associated corridors. Much of what I have to say was really said this morning in the Star and Tribune in a piece that I co-authored with Christelle, so please check that. In it, the overriding theme behind that was system velocity matters. When you take a transit system of the sort we're talking here off a dedicated guideway where it can run at about 30 miles an hour and adequately serve a 13-mile service corridor, and you slow it down to 15 to 16 miles an hour, nothing really good comes from that in terms of its underlying economics, the propensity of investors to engage in what's known as transit-oriented development activities and whatnot. And that is what has happened here. One real quick civil engineering example is taking the line off the railroad corridor and putting it on down the median of West Broadway, and then running it up a hilly, curvy section of West Broadway between James and Penn is not a good idea. And so much so that when the original BNSF corridor project was justified in the 2015 DEIS, they explicitly ruled out as one of the options running light rail down the middle of West Broadway east of Penn. And guess where this one is going? So nothing good can come from that. When a situation like this out in California occurred, they ended up putting about a mile of that line under a shallow tunnel. I'm not sure you want that to happen here. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adway Pugh, and I'm a Jordan resident. I'm also the executive director of Jordan Area Community Council. And everybody here, they spoke so wonderfully about businesses, but let's talk about people. My concern is homes, families, and how many families and homes will be displaced because of this light rail coming down West Broadway. It has been mentioned that in 2015 that a study was done saying that West Broadway is too hilly and curvy. It's so funny. I didn't know anything about the study, but I said just because I drive down West Broadway that the road is too hilly and curvy for 2 light rails to go on either side of the street. It's actually too small for one to go down, especially with all the new apartment buildings that has been built, and this is going to displace families. And I am the executive director of Jordan Area Community Council, which means Jordan is a neighborhood. And that in the Jordan neighborhood, it is 8,000 families in Jordan. The light rail is going to take out approximately 630 lots from Jordan and Hawthorne. So think about that. How many families is going to be impacted? And if there's going to be enough funding to even pay for them to move somewhere else. What people don't understand also is that the crime in North Minneapolis, especially in the Jordan neighborhood, has gone down in the past since COVID. We went down actually 25%, and the reason that I know that is because we have safety meetings. So when you hear on the news and things that North Minneapolis is bad, that's not true. It's this week I found out from Bill Magnuson. He does the crime specialist in North Minneapolis, and I found out that Jordan in North Minneapolis has the lowest rate of crime in all of the neighborhoods. He did a safety analysis, and so we need not to have the light rail go down West Broadway and use bus rapid transit, because we need buses. Buses get us there faster. Buses are cheaper, more people to get jobs. I mean, just think about it. And if you have any questions, ride down Broadway yourself, and you'll see yourself that 2 trains is not going to fit. Thank you so much.
My name is Tim David. I've been researching transit solutions for transit corridors in the Twin Cities for a number of years. I've been working with this group for over 2 years. First thing everyone needs to remember and understand about this bill, H.R. 14, this is not about no transit. This is not about no transit for the Blue Line corridor. This bill is about sending a message to the Met Council that until their comparable LRT project, the Green Line, that is $1.5 billion over budget, 9 years behind schedule, that until that is operational and we evaluate the lessons learned, no new dollars should be used for LRT projects, in particular for the Blue Line corridor. This Blue Line corridor could really be the Blue Line BRT. Bus rapid transit can be implemented for a tenth of the cost of LRT in this corridor. That means BRT could be implemented for $280 million versus $3.2 billion for LRT. BRT is faster, it's much more flexible, it's safer, it's the same travel time for riders as LRT, it's a lower cost, and it is used more than LRT, with BRT ridership throughout the Twin Cities increasing significantly. Those who are in favor of LRT, for example, in the Blue Line corridor, need to ask themselves if the LRT is the right transit solution for their constituents. LRT requires riders to go to the track. Buses can go to the riders. Supporters of LRT have touted that the riders are within 1 mile of the LRT track. Are they really going to walk to the track for a mile in February, January, December? These riders need a complete transit solution to be funded that can meet all of their needs, meet them at the curb, and include properly funded transit solutions like Metro Mobility Microtransit, Transit Link, connector buses, regional providers, and yes, the backbone of the corridor being BRT. BRT would take only $280 million and not use all that transit funding for the area. There's much more complete, innovative transit solutions that can be used than LRT. LRT really is old school project. Of the large transit projects now being considered by the FTA for funding across metro areas in the U.S., 8 of those projects are LRT, 33 are BRT projects. BRT is preferred. It's time to pause spending on new LRT projects. Met Council has shown they cannot manage a large LRT project, and most of all, no one wants a repeat of the failures, of the cost overruns, and mismanagement of the Southwest Light Rail. No one wants a Blue Line extension boondoggle. Blue Line BRT can be the solution.
Our last speaker.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Donna Sanders, and I'm the business specialist with the West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. When I started WBC in September of 2022, I was responsible for doing outreach on the avenue to the businesses to encourage them to attend the BLRT meetings. After 2.5 years, 85% of the business and property owners on West Broadway are against the LRT. One of the reasons is that there has been a gross lack of transparency on the part of the Metropolitan Council and Hennepin County as to the exact impact on the businesses and the buildings. Numerous information meetings we have attended over the last few years have been very general, repetitive, showing no detail and not addressing our concerns. Because of the lack of transparency, the businesses along West Broadway are afraid of losing their businesses. These are businesses who have been on West Broadway 10, 20, 30 years, multi-generational BIPOC businesses. We believe there's been a gross lack of consideration and respect for the people who live, work, and own businesses and buildings along West Broadway. It feels like Metropolitan Council and Hennepin County are purposely keeping us in the dark so they can do whatever they want without our interference. WBC and the West Broadway businesses are asking the state to hold off on funding, support H.R. 14, and really take into consideration bus rapid transit, not the LRT. Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, Wade, did you want to say something?
Sure, I can.
I forgot. A gentleman also from Crystal.
I was hiding back there. My name is Wade Gerard. I'm a resident of the city of Crystal. I ran for city council recently in the city of Crystal, and during my election, I was able to meet a lot of my neighbors that live on both sides of County Road 81, which is going to be the main corridor that they're picking for this light rail. And every single resident that I met asked me how, what was my opinion on the light rail, and I said I was against it, and they said, "You've got my vote." And I heard that time and time again, and I didn't hear anyone that actually wanted to have the light rail going down 81 in our neighborhood. The County Road 81 was built and designed for bus rapid transit. It's there. It's ready to go. Just start driving some buses down County Road 81. It's ready to go. There's no reason to tear it up and put tracks on the middle of it. And 81, in my opinion, living in Crystal, 81 is one of the gems of our neighborhood because I can hop on that, on 81. I can get downtown in probably about 15 minutes right now. If this light rail goes in, it's going to take an hour from the city of Crystal to get downtown, not 15 minutes. And I can get down to Maple Grove in about 12. I mean, it's as far as I'm concerned, like I said, in our neighborhood, Robbinsdale and Crystal, it's the centerpiece for our neighborhood and our neighbors. And like I said, everyone's against it that I met. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we're just going to wrap up. I just wanted you to hear the voices of the community, that they feel their voices have not been heard. So they've gone to tons of meetings. They've been looking for someone to give them a platform to speak. I didn't know these people. I had a town hall in my district a week ago Saturday for my constituents, and a lot of these people came up and they're like, we heard about your bill. What are we going to do? Help us. So this all came together in a week because they want their voices heard. They want you to know there are a lot of people in the businesses, in the communities, in the neighborhoods who do not support bus rapid, they support bus rapid transit, but not light rail. And so we want to give the community more time to have their voices heard and put a moratorium on the blue line. So happy to take questions if you have any, for me or for the guests.
Any indication of whether there will be any DFL support for this bill on the floor later?
You know, I talked to a lot of my colleagues over the weekend, and I would say they're interested in the conversation because they realize that bus rapid transit is much more affordable and doesn't do the disruption. I mean, bus rapid transit, I think the quote was for 10% of the cost, roughly $280 million. The light rail is $222 million per mile at the current rate. And that's probably going to go up, and it's not going to be ready till 2030 if we're lucky. So the shorter amount of time for business to be closed, plus the savings, I think, makes it possible that we could have continued conversations with our friends on the other side of the aisle over the coming months. For today, I'm always an optimist, but I don't know.
One of the arguments for previous light rail and other transit projects has been the availability of federal funding. What do you think the prospects are for federal funding at this point for the Blue Line extension?
I would say very low. So my guess is the Trump administration will not be prioritizing a project like this. I have not spoken to them, but I know we will probably be sending a letter in the coming week, and I believe Chair Kosnick is also working on a letter. And just so you know, the Transportation Committee members are all in actual Transportation Committee. That's why they're not joining us today. But Chair Kosnick does support this effort. Anybody else? Great. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing their stories. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.